everyone, to another episode of Rise Together, the show and podcast for associates and by associates. Today, we have a cool opportunity to talk with store manager Ben up in Bemidji, Minnesota. So I'm really excited to hear about that. We talked briefly about that. Did I nail it? Bemidji?
You got it. Yep, it was perfect.
Took like 7 times. So, but nobody will know, so it's okay. But I'm sending it to you, Ben. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Serge. I'm really, really happy to have this time to spend with you guys. So I started off with a company about 15 years ago. Grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska. My dad traveled a lot. Grew up being in a military family. So as I got through high school in Van Buren, Maine, moved down to Missouri, I found myself at the Richmond Walmart applying for my first real job. I was just 17 years old, worked as a temporary garden center associate in that store. My time was coming up because I was getting ready to go to college. So my time was coming up and I had to find something else. And they asked me if I wanted to stay on overnight, so I did. And what was insane about this was I was going to college to get into like financial accounting, things like that. I never knew that you could promote with Walmart. I worked for the company for 4 years, and I thought you had to be some like super smart person, like this incredible superhero. And then my friend Matt got promoted, and I knew that you didn't have to be a superhero anymore to get promoted. So I talked to one of my assistant managers, James, and one of my assistant managers, John, and they kind of talked to me about the opportunity with Walmart. I finally got my first opportunity at a management position when I was back in the Richmond store as a department manager in apparel, as a men's and boys department manager. And it kind of went from there. One thing I learned through the process of working with Walmart and continuing to promote into different roles is set a goal, have a plan, and have a deadline to achieve that goal. If you don't have that, it's kind of just hopes and dreams at that point. So we set a goal, had a plan, had a deadline, and within a year, I took an assistant manager role in Moberly, Missouri, moved multiple times around Missouri, from Hot Springs, Arkansas, as far north as Devil's Lake, North Dakota, and now to Bemidji, Minnesota. So a really diverse group of people that I've got to interact with, and I've learned a lot.
Wow. Okay. Man, there's so much to talk about there. Did you say Alaska and then Maine? Is that what you said?
So yeah, yes, sir. So grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska. I lived in Van Buren, Maine, very last town on Route 1, right before you cross into the Canadian border. They had a mall that had both of the stores there. I lived in Missouri, Oklahoma, and a couple other places too. But
sure. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. You were as far northwest as you can get. Then you went as far northeast as you can get. Then you went smack in the middle of the country. So that's pretty awesome. And so 9 times, there's something there that we should talk about. What had you move 9 times? I mean, that's an option that you gave to the company because you don't hear that a lot anymore. People just moving constantly for the company. That was a big thing you would hear a lot about 10, 15 years ago, but I don't hear that as much. Is there a reason? Like, have you chose, like, I want to be mobile?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, Serge, there's a difference between people waiting for opportunity and people looking for opportunity. I really encourage people to seek opportunity. So it's out there. Whatever you want to do, whatever you desire to do, however big of a family you want to have, however much money you want to make, however, whatever your dream is, it's out. Your goals, whatever you hope to achieve, it's out there. So are you waiting for it to come to you, or are you actively looking for it? And I think if you're actively looking for it, you're going to find it a lot quicker. If you're just waiting for it, your time may be past when that opportunity comes by. So I think there's a level of complacency that you don't want to find yourself in. And just be actively seeking what you really want to do.
Actively seeking out your vision. So you had talked about having a plan, having a deadline. Can you share with us what some of your plan was, like what some of the goals were? I mean, obviously store manager, and you're in that role. What were some of the other goals that you had?
The company is constantly changing. When I was a department manager, I set a goal for 1 year to be an assistant manager. And within 1 year, I achieved that goal. But I didn't just achieve it because I said I wanted to do it. I surrounded myself with people who could help me get there, not people who were store managers and assistant managers, but department managers who had an incredible skill set. I partnered with my peers. My peers helped me get there. I built a level of trust and respect with them first. My leader currently right now, my previous leaders, they see the relationships that you build with your peers and how you're able to direct and influence the people that work for you, the people you work with, the people that work above you. So a lot of interaction and building those relationships along the way. So it's not necessarily, so I want to make sure that the lines don't get crossed. It's not who you know, it's the resources that you reach out to establish your own credibility and create your own reputation and enhance your own skill set. And that's really where it's at. So when I was an assistant manager, I set a 3-year goal to be it started out as a 5-year goal. But as the company realigned and had other opportunities with co-managers and things like that, I was able to take my goal and shave some time off and create a 3-year goal, and I was able to achieve that. When I became a co-manager, I set a 5-year goal. I said in 5 years, this is what my path looks like, and I surrounded myself. And sometimes, Serge, I put myself in some really difficult situations, some stores that weren't always the most fun or attractive. And I found myself in some stores that maybe had some struggles. And you build your reputation through the struggles that you endure and through the hardships that you help people overcome, not about the smooth sailing. You build a lot of credibility around helping people get through the tough times, not what you're doing in the fun, easygoing times.
I had the opportunity to interview Bo and Antonio, the Walmart radio DJs. And in Bo's interview, I think it's like episode 2 of Rise Together, way back when, he specifically gives that as a leadership lesson that he learned, was that your people are who promote you. Your people are the ones they're going to be the ones that really get you to that next level. And so you echo that yet again, not just with saying, being around those people and becoming champions, but because those people become mentors with you and guides with you and help you through that process. That's pretty exciting, which kind of leads to something we teach very often in the academy, and that's personal influence versus, positional influence. So like you're in a positional place of influence right now as the store manager, but it sounds like you've connected with so many people personally that I have a feeling a lot of your associates where you've been and where you are now would follow you anyway because of your personal relationship with them. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm thankful that you kind of dropped down on both of those things, because that's what we are as Walmart. We're going to continue to be the right place for the right people, and connecting with each other and associates is going to be a huge way to keep moving forward. And I love that you talked about complex.
Absolutely.
So you talked about taking the hard task, taking the difficult road, because very often that's where the most characters developed and the most reward, but quite frankly. And so before we actually started this episode, you and I were talking about just the time you put in right now in Minnesota. I want to ask just kind of we'll get a personal question on here. Man, you spend a lot of time in your store. What do you do outside of Walmart?
My passion outside of working for Walmart, racing motocross. I spent a lot of time, effort, and energy training myself, developing myself in that. It's something that could potentially be a great career path, be a fun hobby, but at the end of the day, it could also be something that puts you in the hospital or damages you. What we do as leaders is the same exact thing. We can have a really nice career path. We can put ourselves in a position where we can have the pizzazz, the glitz and glamour of a gorgeous store, or we could put ourselves in a position where we make bad decisions and we damage ourselves or damage the people that work around us or work for us. So I think the effort and energy that you put into developing yourself, developing your team, especially the people that you have to build trust and relationships with that you have no control over, whether that's the mechanic, whether that's your promoter, whether that's your sponsor. There's a level of trust and that you have to have towards those people or with those people and build those relationships and then work together, be honest with each other, acknowledge the struggles. And so I think the amount of time that I put into the store here, like I don't fret or get frustrated about it because I know that that effort and energy that we have today, that we put into it today is what's going to be the defining factor of when we get put on the podium one day. I spend a lot of time teaching and training young motocross professionals. So as they got into amateur racing and stuff like that, there's a lot of life lessons that you learn through being a promoter or a teacher outside of retail or outside of leadership that you can really apply to your leadership. For a kid even on a dirt bike, whether they were 15 years old, 20 years old, or 5 years old. And we would walk around the track and walk the places that we were going to go, not ride on them. And then they would watch me ride that corner. We just take a small part of that track and we just break it down till we became so skilled at it that if that 5-year-old kid was out there on the track, no one was going to be there to pick him up if he fell down. So he had to learn how to get back up, pick himself up, and keep going, and know that there was going to be somebody at the finish line there to celebrate that win. But all that teaching, which is what we do in our academies, the training, that hands-on experience, and the most important piece that I use for our team, that conditioning piece, which I feel is one of the most important. It's the sparring, the practice, standing on the sidelines and telling them when they're doing something wrong, encouraging them when they're doing something right. That conditioning prepares them for race day. That conditioning prepares our associates for the big win. So I think those three aspects of what I did in my hobby, I think is something that I've been able to make relevant in my current role. So I hope people don't ever think that the time they're investing is just extra. It's value added to someone, and you can potentially make a difference. The quicker you adapt and the more you invest now, you move that much further quicker and bringing your team on board with you. So,
wow. And that is, just so people know, that is not something we talked about. So we didn't talk about that at all. You say motocross, like I was like trying to think, what is it going to be? And so, man, you rattled off some incredible insight. And I think that in and of itself, you brought it back and you talked about it in our store. And I think I want to leave it over there in the context of our, not work-life balance, but this idea that the things that we do that really excite us, whether that's in the store and even if it's out of the store, can be translated into leadership qualities, leadership lessons for us to take with us in every avenue. And so to listen to you talk about motocross and then to tie that in to see how that's impacted you as a leader and how that actually is impacting you today, I can just visualize you walking with your assistants now through your store, walking the track, if you will, talking about the corners, letting them see you take the corners. That's pretty incredible. So the question that we always ask is, what does the spark mean to you?
So the spark to me is 100% attitude. It really is. It's a reflection of how you interact with your community. It's a reflection of your engagement with your associates. It's your attitude towards your environment. You can't let the environment control you. You have to control the environment by putting a smile on your face. You can change the atmosphere by how you present yourself in the room when you walk in. Whether it's your home, whether it's your workplace, you control the environment. You have to walk around with this creepy smile on your face all the time. Not really. But you have to have an engaging attitude. You have to have a positive attitude. We're Walmart. There's nothing that we cannot do. And I tell my associates every single day, there's not a single thing that we cannot do.
the reality of what you just said, it's a choice, and it's a choice that you get to make. And that's going to dictate really how people treat you, how people respond to you, and most importantly, it's going to impact them to maybe choose that same attitude as we move forward. Hey, Ben, thank you so much for being on Rise Together. Sadly, I was really hoping I would hear, like, you know, Minnesota, like, in the voice, and I got nothing.
I don't have any accent at all, no. I studied a lot of different foreign languages. So I studied Chinese for 2 years, and my voice changes when I do that, and I'm talking really high. It's very easy, if I don't articulate well, that I can give you a accent from another country. I don't want to do that.
I want to put you on the spot now. Can you tell everybody the goodbye to our Walmart China viewers?
Yes. 再见, 谢谢你.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, thanks everybody for listening and or watching.
Have a good one.
Again, thanks, Ben, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Serge.